Hey guys, well, it's Tuesday, and what's the date today? 13th, 14th. I think it's the 14th. Yeah, the 14th. So it's the 14th of January 2020, and it is very foggy out. I was in town before to pick up the mail. I got a package I want to show you, and it was horrible coming back on the road. It was very hard to see. I was doing 15 miles an hour on the way home. So anyway, it feels like it's going to snow any minute, but as you can see, we got mud. So it's, even though it's a little breezy, it feels very cold, but it's probably around 40, maybe 35 degrees. So I don't know what's happening with the weather. I just listened to a forecast that said it's supposed to drop over the next week and stay down there for 4 or 5 weeks. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so this is the old brush holder. Now you can see how nice I cleaned. Let me see what you're seeing. You can see how nice I cleaned the brushes on here. Nice and brassy, copper looking, and they work good inside here. So the springs that go on there will work on these. The thing is it's pretty messed up. It's got a lot of rusty stuff on it there, and I'm not quite getting that rust off. So what I did was I sent away for a new one, and what's nice about the new one, okay, there's 2 bolts in there to hold it in, is that they give you new brushes, which I like. Okay, I like the idea of the new brushes. However, let me see, if I look here on the starter, see what you're looking at here. Yeah, you can see the size of the brush. I'd say not quite halfway wore down. Okay, it's about what's left on there. So it would be nice to put the new brushes on here and put this whole piece on that I got, this brush holder. So I'm going to work on doing that for a while here. It's already late in the afternoon. It's after 3 o'clock, but I want to see if I can't. Yeah, that really, it's nice and tight there, the brushes. But anyway, I want to see how this works. Let's just see how this is fitting actually. Okay, it's the same size. So this should work real good in place of the other one. Now, I'm not going to throw that other one away. There's no sense in throwing this away because I could use it in case something breaks. You know, if a leg breaks off or something, then I have something to work with. So I'm going to put this onto the new starter, or onto the old starter, okay? But I'm going to put the new brushes on while I'm at it here. Yeah, here's this. I'm going to put the new brushes on, and let me just bring it back. So I'm putting the new brushes as well as the new brush holder onto the old starter, because that seems to be the only problem with this starter. The shafts and everything seem okay. The one thing that I'm a little leery of though is this. These lines that are in here, from what I remember, should actually be separated from the pieces in the back. And I don't know if you can see it, but if you look really close there, they're actually touching. Now, I don't know if that should be separated there or not. And it doesn't look to me like a lot of this wore down. I mean, I put this in my lathe, and I took about 10 thousandths off of it just to clean it off. And what was, like, if you look here, you can see the brush isn't that wide. So I took from here over off new, and the stuff I took off there was not that thick. You're talking a 64th or less of an inch, you know, of material totally on like both sides. So I'm not sure, but anyway, I think that these should be separated from here. It's been a while since I've rebuilt the starter, probably, I don't know, probably 15 years maybe, or 10 years I'd say. But I'm just looking at this thing, trying to figure out what's going on with it. So anyway, let me take a a gander at a couple of books and see what it says about the starter, and see if that should be separated here altogether. And then I'll see what I can do about putting it back together. This part I think I said was $30 shipping included, or 20 some dollars plus shipping. So to spend $30 on a starter, even if I spent $75 on the starter, it's not too much to ask, especially with me being retired and not having, you know, I can do whatever I want. It's not asking too much to spend $75 on an old starter to have it like new. Now, if I had to buy the armature, I'm pretty sure that armature would cost me an arm and a leg, but I don't know. I mean, so it's surprising some of the prices I've come up with here, but you know, this stuff is old, and even though it's new, it's still old, and I guess the people want to get their money out of it. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to work on this, see how far I can get with it, and hopefully this will work out good. But I want to check out this. I think it's called an armature, but I'm not positive of that. I forget what you call this piece right here. I knew it one time, I just can't remember it anymore. But anyway, I want to check that out and see if that should be separated on there. And I don't know if it should or not. The weird thing about this is even where I cut it down up front here, it's just as close. So it's kind of weird that it's, you know, not exactly separated, unless that's just a very tiny bit. I mean, it looks like these are actually separated in between here, and they come down onto this, but it's kind of hard to say. Maybe I can just take a knife or something and just pull the knife through there and see what it looks like. I'll try that once and see. Got to clean this end off here a little bit. It's a little dirty, but anyway, that's what I'm going to work on here this afternoon. So I'll let you know as I go how things are working out. Okay guys, what you're doing, let me just back up for a second. You're looking through a magnifying glass there, okay? And I'm just showing you what I'm seeing here. It doesn't look like it wants to focus too well, so let me go back. There it goes. Okay, so it seems like if I take a razor knife, let's see which one you're seeing here. Okay, I just want you to see this one. You see how that one looks like it's a part in the back, and then the rest of the couple of these. Now I kind of split off with the knife here, which I didn't like doing, but I can brush that off. It's not a real deep gouge or anything, but you can see this one here, where right where my thumb is there. That one's nice. These are okay, seem okay here. So I'm going to use the, let me just keep it in focus here. This thing's moving around a little bit. So I'm going to keep using the utility knife there, just to see if I can't scrape through those lines to clear. I think what's happening here is, if I'm putting it in the lathe, I believe the lathe pulled some metal, because this was spinning. I believe the lathe pulled a little metal across the line there, and that's why it looked to me like it was closed. So it seems to come off pretty easy when you use a knife and just scrape your way through. But you got to be really careful, because even with, and this is a brand new knife, by the way, I just bought these. So they fit in it, but you got to be really careful when you're pulling through there. You got to pull through easy so you stay in the black line. So that's how I'm going to clean those out for right now, because I don't have a file or anything else small enough to really get in there. So we'll try that, see what happens with the knife blade, and I think this might work out okay here. Okay, what I'm trying to show you here is right where my finger is. You can see that that's apart there, and from here this direction they're apart. Now you see how, like at this end, it seems like it's touching. I believe that that's from scraping it with the lathe. These next couple here, where the copper seems to have rolled off over top of the wrapping that's on there. That's some kind of filament in there of some sort. So this seems to be getting it out as long as I scrape from one end to the other. So I think it'll be okay, but, and you can see like right here where the filament's actually sticking out through there at this next one, right in front of my finger there. So like I say, this one looks good, and that's what they look like back this way. So from here towards me, I need to keep going with that. That's just what I wanted to try to show you, the difference in how that looks. See how they look like they're touching there at the end, and and I don't think they should be. There should be nothing there, but you know, unfortunately, putting on the lathe, I guess, wasn't a good idea. It worked nice cleaning it, but I think it messed that up, so I got to clean that off of there. So anyway, that's what I'm trying to explain to you. Alright. Okay guys, I'm going to use a knife to do some pointing here. The tip of the, well, even the tip of the knife is not what it ought to be. Hold on a second. Let me see what I got here. I'll give you back in a sec. Okay, I have a little pocket knife here that I think I can point with. If you look, well, there goes the pocket knife. If you look real close here, you'll see that these brass or copper pieces are laid down next to one another, and this is a piece of some type of material that's separating it from the steel. And if you look in here, this is also separating them from one another. So I cut the copper out that was on the edges up here, the very edges, which I think was, like I say, done by the lathe. So now, if you, let me see if I can get you a better look there. If you look close, you got to look at them straight up. You can see that there's nothing that's touching there. I cut down to just a tiny bit until I was clean there. You can see that I'm down there as I turn it up. Okay, and all of them are done. So I think that's going to be okay the way I have it there as far as that goes. If it's not, then I'll be taking it apart again, but I think that it is, because you can see how the line goes in and all the way up the face of this thing here, so that's why I say they're separated. So I've cleaned that out. This is fairly smooth. I'm going to run maybe a cloth this direction. I'm not going to go around this circle. I'm going to come this direction, you know, this way, rather than going around, just to clean this off a little bit, and then I'm going to put it back together. You know, this is crazy, but I figured I'd look in one of my manuals to see, you know, about fixing the starter. Now, all of the newer books, and if you look at this, this is a motor manual. I love these. When I see them, I buy whatever year I don't have. From the 70s on up, I don't think I have anything in the 70s in a motor auto repair manual, but I have some back into the 30s. But anyway, this is a 1963, and in this one it tells you about the starter, and that part that I forgot the name of is called a commutator. So everything is on there, tells you how to test it and basically how to rebuild it. It doesn't say rebuilding, but like starter motor service, okay? And you can see it shows you the difference between the commutator and stuff, and how to undercut with a lathe and that. And they do use a lathe to cut that off. That's where I had the idea, I suppose. And then it tells you to sandpaper that off with some small thin sandpaper. I had some 600 there. I used that on the commutator over there, right here, and it seemed to do a nice job on it. So I'm going to read up on this a little bit. It doesn't hurt. I have Autolite starters, which this is I think a Hudson or something like that. I forget the name. But anyway, it's made for Autolite, so it looks pretty much just like that. So I'm just going to read this, see what I can get out of it. About the brushes, setting the brushes, attaching the brushes. They look to me, if you look, and believe me, I need to get my glasses, I need to get a light here. I'm not sure how this is fastened. It looks like it's soldered on there. If it's soldered, not a problem. I can solder another one on these two. I'd really like to get rid of these because they're so small compared to the nice new ones. So, you know, and not only that, they're crooked as all get out. Like if you hold that on top of that, let me just see if I can hold that for you. You see how crooked that one is there? I don't understand why it's so crooked, but anyway, that's neither here nor there as long as it touches and makes an arc, I suppose. But I think they're tacked on there with some solder. I'm not positive of that, but I need to look at that a little closer. I can actually see it better in the camera here than I can when I'm looking at it, although the screen on the camera is so small. But anyway, I'm gonna read about this thing and see what I come up with, and then I'll put it back together, because I'm not in a big hurry to get it back together. I just don't want it on my workbench, because in short order everything will be dirty again just because of all the different stuff that I do in here. So I'm going to work on that, and we'll see what happens as far as the book goes. I really think I'll be able to find some good stuff in here on how to fix this, because that thing is not a 60s, it's probably a 78, I believe I said. But I haven't looked in the book for the backhoe yet about rebuilding the starter. I don't know if there's a rebuilding thing in there or not. The funny part is in any books that I have from the 90s up, they say the starter is a something something and should be replaced. No matter what part of the starter is broken, the entire starter should be replaced. I find that hard to believe. Of course, if they're put together in such a way that you can't, you know, easily get them apart, like if they're welded or, you know, whatever, there's not much you can do with it. But I know that they rebuilt these. I had a friend who was who had a shop in the town next to where I lived, the next town out, and he made a fortune rebuilding starters and alternators. So I know it can be done. I should have listened to him a little closer, I guess. Like I say, I've done it in the past. I'm just forgetting stuff, and since I haven't done it in a long while, so I'm going to, like I say, read up on this about the starting motors, and then I'll get back to what it's going to look like and see what I can do with it. So anyway, you know that I got the new piece. Where did I put it? Somewhere around here. Oh, here it is. Yeah, so I got the new piece and all the new fields, which are the brushes, which is good. And that's not really hard to put together. That's pretty easy. The part about soldering it, like I say, I'm not sure if this is soldered or not. I think it's just soldered to a copper wire. Now I should be able to handle that without a problem because I got all kind of torches. I also have a rod or a gun that can make that all pretty hot. So I don't think that'll be an issue as long as that's how it goes together. So that's what I'm going to work on. Alright guys, well, the weather's not changed. It's getting even worse out. And it's 10:04, so I got to take the dog out now. So have a good one. I'll put this video up just so you can keep track of what I'm doing here.